The crystalline egg chamber pulsed with a final, brilliant flash of bioluminescence before a tiny crack appeared along its opalescent surface. Mother Kref's heart spots flickered with joy as she watched her child emerge into their first moments of consciousness. The timing couldn't have been more perfect, just as the station's artificial day cycle was beginning, and mere hours before the most magical night in the galactic standard year. "Welcome, little one," she hummed, her vocal sacs producing the traditional greeting tones of their species. Her sensory fronds wavered gently as she observed her child's first movements, their own tiny fronds still glistening with birthing fluid as they stretched toward the warm light of their habitat dome. The newly hatched MiG's first visual input was a confusion of colors and shapes that didn't match any of the genetic memories they'd inherited. Twinkling lights in patterns too regular to be stars draped across the thermal vents. A holographic tree, something their species had never evolved alongside, sparkled with tiny projections of what appeared to be wrapped packages. Most puzzling of all was a small, sock-shaped apparatus hanging near their primary heat source, decorated in bold red and white stripes that seemed to demand attention. MiG's first words weren't the traditional response to the greeting call. Instead, their vocal sacs produced a string of confused harmonics that translated roughly to, "Mother, why does our thermal regulation unit have an appendage storage device attached to it?" Kref's scales shifted through a rainbow of amused colors before settling into a warm, maternal purple. She had expected questions. Their species was naturally curious after all, but trust her child to focus immediately on the most Earth-specific part of all the decorations. "This, my little one, is called a Christmas stocking. It's a very special container that will help Santa find you." "Ah!" cried Santa, looking up at the Christmas tree. Migra's sensory fronds perked up with interest, their inherited memories quickly accessing all available data about the mentioned terms. Their scales flickered with rapid color changes as they processed the information, eventually settling into the deep blue of puzzlement. "Santa, the human gift-giver who travels to all children in a single rotation?" Their tone crystals resonated with skepticism, a trait their species had evolved for survival millions of years ago. "Mother, I've just accessed our racial memory of spatial mathematics. Even with current FTL technology, it would be impossible for a single being to visit every child in the galaxy within one planetary rotation period. The distances are too vast, the number of children too great, and the variations in atmospheric requirements alone would—" "Ah," Kref interrupted, her scales shifting to a knowing green as she settled into her storytelling posture. Her bioluminescent spots began to pulse in the rhythm that their species used to indicate the beginning of an important lesson. "That, my curious little one, is where you'll find that humanity has brought something to the galaxy that goes beyond just mathematics and physics. Would you like to hear how Santa manages such an impossible task?" MiG's own spots automatically synchronized with their mother's rhythm, an instinctive response that had helped their species share knowledge for countless generations. They arranged their newly hatched body into the traditional learning pose, their fronds extended forward with attention. "Yes, please, Mother, I want to understand." Kref's scales rippled with delight. She had waited so long to share this story, to pass on this piece of human wonder to her own child. Her bioluminescence brightened as she began to explain how a single human had become one of the most important figures in galactic history. Kref's scales rippled with subtle patterns of gold and silver, colors that humans had taught them represented the magic of the season. Her bioluminescent spots continued their rhythmic storytelling pulse as she began to explain. "You see, little one, when humanity first joined the galactic community, they were among the youngest of spacefaring races. Many species, including our own, expected them to bring only their technology, their sciences, their mathematical models of the universe. And they did bring those things, but they brought something far more precious as well. Inevitably, Mig's fronds quivered. "I was it, Mother?" "Wonder," Kref hummed, her vocal sacs producing a harmonic that made the air itself seem to shimmer. The ability to look at the impossible and say why not. Instead of trying to disprove Santa's existence with physics, they simply made physics work for Santa instead. She gestured toward the viewport of their habitat dome, where the great spiral arm of the galaxy stretched out before them. "Look out there, little one. Do you see that unusually bright star? That's not a star at all. It's Santa's primary workshop station, orbiting their solar system. It's just one of dozens of manufacturing facilities that stretch across their home system." Mig's scales shifted to the deep blue of concentration as they accessed their racial memory. "But Mother, toy production at that scale would still require, thousands of workers?" Gref's spots pulsed with amusement. "Oh yes, the elves, Santa's helpers, work in zero-gravity manufacturing facilities that would make our finest engineers weep with joy. They've mastered quantum entanglement technology that allows instant delivery to regional distribution centers across the galaxy. Every sector has its own hub, ready to receive the quantum-tagged gifts at precisely the right moment." She reached out with one delicate appendage and touched her child's sensory frond. "But that's just the science part. Would you like to know about the magic?" Mig's scales flickered rapidly between skepticism purple and curiosity yellow. "Magic isn't real, Mother. Our racial memory contains no evidence of..." But that's what makes it magic, isn't that it? Look at the stars again, little one. What do you see between them? Space-time distortions from standard FTL travel, cosmic radiation, dark matter concentrations. And on Christmas Eve, you'll see something else," Kref hummed. "You'll see a very special sleigh pulled by 8 remarkable reindeer. Their antlers, bioengineered with quantum navigation arrays, will cut through the darkness of space. They've been enhanced to survive the vacuum, their hooves leaving trails of stardust as they gallop through the void." She lowered her voice to a soft harmonic. "The sleigh itself uses human FTL technology, yes, but it's powered by something they call Christmas magic. The greatest xenophysicists in the galaxy have studied it for decades now. They can detect it, measure it, observe its effects, but no one can quite explain it. It's as if the collective belief of billions of children across thousands of species has created something new. Something wonderful." Mig's fronds were fully extended now, their scales having settled into a steady glow of fascination green. "But the atmospheric requirements alone, are all accounted for," Kref assured them. "Santa's suit adapts to every environment, every atmosphere, every form of life that has learned to believe in him. The reindeer's quantum fields protect the sleigh and its precious cargo. And the gifts," her spots pulsed with particular delight, "the gifts somehow know exactly what form they need to take for each child, each species, each unique individual." She gestured to the Christmas stocking. "That's why we hang these. They help Santa's quantum targeting systems find exactly the right spot to deliver exactly the right gift. Humanity has programmed their wonderful impossible magic into the very fabric of space-time." "But Mother," Mig hummed thoughtfully, their skepticism finally giving way to genuine wonder. "How did all this begin? How did humanity convince the galaxy to believe in Santa?" Ref's scales shifted to storytelling blue once more. Now that's an even more wonderful tale. You see, when humans first made contact with other species..." Kref's scales rippled with nostalgic patterns as her spots pulsed in the rhythm of ancestral remembrance. "I remember when my own mother told me this story, just as her mother told her. It was only 3 generations ago that humans first made contact with our species, you know. say we can spies, and with training and steadiness, we could set the world on tiptoe. She adjusted her position, her fronds swaying gently in the thermal currents. The humans were actually embarrassed at first when alien children began learning about Santa Claus. They thought we'd see them as primitive, clinging to childish fantasies. They didn't realize that they'd given us something precious, something many species had lost in their rush to master the cosmos. Mig tilted their head questioningly, their scales showing patterns of curiosity. What was that, Mother? The permission to wonder, to believe in something simply because it brings joy. Kref's pulsed warmly. You see, the first alien children who learned about Santa didn't question the physics or the impossibility. They simply asked when he would visit them. And their parents, rather than dismissing the idea, saw how it made their children's eyes shine, or glow, or pulse, or whatever their species did to show delight. She gestured to their habitat dome's decorations. Soon, every species began adding their own touches to the tradition. The methane-breathing Hutuli, for instance. They install specialized atmospheric processors in their children's rooms for Santa's visit. They look like what humans would call chimneys, but they create a safe pocket of breathable air for him. Mig's scales flickered with recognition. Is that why the crystallites create those beautiful ice platforms on their mineral worlds? Exactly, Kref hummed with pleasure. They carve landing pads from pure crystal, using their silicon-based technology to create designs that change color when Santa's sleigh approaches. And our species, her bioluminescent spots brightened with pride, we contribute something special too. She guided her child to the viewport once more, where other habitat domes dotted the space station's surface. Each one housed a family of their kind, and from each one came a soft, pulsing glow. We use our natural bioluminescence to guide Santa's way. Every family with children creates a unique light pattern, a beacon in the darkness of space. Together, we form a constellation of belief. Her voice took on a more serious harmonic. But it's more than just helping Santa find his way. These traditions, they become something bigger than any one species. When the Gelatinous Collective joined the galactic community and learned about Christmas, they were worried their children couldn't participate. They have no fixed form, you see. How could Santa bring them physical gifts? Mig's fronds perked up with interest. What happened? The humans worked with them to adapt the tradition. Now, Santa brings their children specially programmed quantum wave patterns that the young ones can incorporate into their amorphous forms. They light up like living auroras on Christmas morning. Kref's scales shifted through a rainbow of joy. That's when everyone realized that Santa had become more than just a human tradition. He'd become a symbol of galactic unity, of childhood wonder that transcends species and space. Her spots pulsed with a particularly bright pattern as she added, "Did you know that every year the number of believing children grows? With each new species that joins the galactic community, with each new world that humans reach, the network of wonder expands." Some xenosociologists say that belief in Santa has become one of the most powerful forces for peace in the galaxy. After all, it's hard to maintain old prejudices when your children are all waiting for the same visitor on the same special night. Mig's scales had settled into a deep, thoughtful gold. "But Mother, how will Santa know what to bring me? I've only just hatched. I don't even know what I want yet." Mundlethorpe, Kref's spots pulsed with maternal warmth. "Ah, little one, that's the most magical part of all. You see, it's almost time for your first sleep cycle, and when you wake up..." Kref gently guided her newly hatched child toward their thermal nest, her scales shifting to soothing patterns of deep blue and violet. The station's artificial day cycle was beginning to dim, creating the perfect conditions for a first sleep. Around them, the habitat dome's environmental systems, hummed a quiet lullaby of perfectly regulated temperatures and atmospheric pressures. "Santa has learned to navigate every type of home in the galaxy, little one," she hummed softly as she adjusted the thermal gradients of Mig's sleeping area. "He has specialized environmental suits for every atmosphere, from the methane clouds of the Hutuli to the crystal caves of the Silicon Collective. His quantum databases hold the environmental requirements for every species, every child, every special need." Mig's fronds drooped slightly with encroaching sleepiness, but their scales still flickered with questions. "But how will he get in, Mother? Our atmospheric seal is rated for the same way he visits the children living in the heart of gas giants or the ones floating in stellar nurseries," Kref hummed soothingly. "His quantum technology allows him to phase through any barrier while maintaining perfect environmental isolation. The station's AI has already programmed a safe arrival corridor for him." As if on cue, the habitat dome's lights dimmed further, leaving only the soft bioluminescence of their own bodies and the twinkling of the Christmas decorations. Through the viewport, they could see other families' habitat domes beginning their night cycles as well, each one glowing with its own unique pattern of welcome for their expected visitor. "When you wake up," Kref continued, her voice harmonizing with the subtle vibrations of the station, "you'll find proof that Santa was here. The quantum residue from his sleigh's passage will leave beautiful patterns in the air, like aurora, but in colors our species can see in the ultraviolet spectrum. He'll leave a small treat, adapted perfectly for our biology. Humans call them candy canes, but ours are made of crystallized thermal energy." She reached out with a delicate appendage to stroke her child's primary sensory frond. "But most importantly, you'll find a gift that shows Santa knows exactly what makes you special, even if you don't know it yourself yet. That's part of his magic, you see. He doesn't just know what you want. He knows what will bring you joy, what will make your spots pulse with delight." Yobi thanked her for her help and said, "You'll be welcome." Mig's scales had settled into the peaceful iridescence of near sleep, but they managed one last question. "Mother, do you still believe in Santa?" Kref's pulsed with profound warmth as she remembered her own first Christmas and everyone since. "Of course I do, little one. You see, Santa isn't just about the gifts, or the magic, or even the impossible physics. He's about the way the entire galaxy comes together for one night, united in creating wonder for its children. He's about how a simple human story grew into something that brings joy to beings humans couldn't even imagine when they first told that story." She began to hum an ancient lullaby of their species, but with a subtle undertone of what humans called Christmas carols. When humanity reached the stars, they didn't just bring their technology or their sciences. They brought their dreams, their stories, their capacity for wonder. And in doing so, they taught the galaxy how to dream again. Mig's spots were pulsing slower now, synchronizing with the peaceful rhythm of sleep. Their scales had settled into the deep, peaceful colors of contentment as they drifted off, dreaming perhaps of quantum reindeer leaving trails of stardust across the cosmos. Kref watched her child sleep, her own spots pulsing with joy and anticipation. Soon she would need to send the signal to Santa's quantum network, encoding her child's pattern into the vast web of belief that stretched across the galaxy. But for now, she simply enjoyed the moment, her scales shifting in the colors of gratitude. Gratitude for her healthy child, for the peaceful species that had taught the galaxy to believe in impossible things. Outside their habitat dome, the star-speckled darkness seemed to twinkle with possibility, waiting for the moment when a very special sleigh would begin its journey across the cosmos, bringing wonder to children of every species, on every world, that had ever heard the story of Santa Claus. thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it a lot. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. Feel free to comment and share this story too. It helps the channel grow. Let's make this channel huge together.